Hi, this is Chris Rush with OffToClass.com, and we're following up with another video breaking down the next part of our step-by-step curriculum. So if you didn't see the last video, we made a really important announcement because for the first time, Off to Class is introducing structured step-by-step curriculum where it goes in order, one lesson after the other. You never have to wonder what you're going to teach your students. You simply follow along the path. We're starting this at the A2 level. We introduced our first unit in last week's video, and now I want to introduce our next unit, which is all about what we do. So there are 4 lessons in every unit. So we're releasing another package of 4 lessons, and in this first one we're going to talk about today, the objective is to talk about what you do. So we're going to introduce positive and negative forms of the present simple, and by the end of the lesson, students will be able to talk about their work or their study or other activities that they do. So what you want to keep in mind in this first lesson is that students are going to need some time to get used to the third person singular form of the present simple because it's the only one that takes an S. So even for students who have a similar system in their native language, it's going to take a little bit of extra time and practice to make sure they're doing this well in English. So just make sure that they're putting that S on the third person singular for when they say things like she plays, because it's common for students to even move past A2 and into B1 and still be making this mistake. So you want to make sure that your students don't take that fossilized error with them moving forward. Also, you want to focus on the irregular verbs do and have. We use them a lot in English, of course, and we need to be able to use these perfectly for tense and question formation. So remember to model and drill both positive and negative forms of do and have, especially because pronunciation can be challenging. The next lesson in this unit is talking about studying and learning, and part of the objective is to help your student form present simple questions. And that is what you want them to be able to do by the time they finish this lesson. You want them to be able to talk about their studying and their learning. So make sure when you teach this lesson that you spend time modeling and drilling question forms. Pay close attention to the do support questions, especially since the pronunciation is challenging in the connected speech. And encourage use of contracted forms, especially in the negative short answer. Things like when we say don't versus do not. Because we only use do not for something to add emphasis. Normally we would just say I don't, so make sure that you make that clear with your students. And keep an eye out for students introducing do in the present tense when it's not required. It's often a byproduct of teaching the present simple. This comes up, so keep an eye out for it. In the third lesson, the objective is asking for things and replying to questions. And at the end of this lesson, students should be able to ask for things and reply to questions. So when you're teaching functional language like this, always do your best to set the context and the scene. Students almost always produce target language more easily when they can imagine a real space, a real time, and the real people who are there. So for this lesson, set the scene. Give names to the customers or the restaurants, or give whatever context, use your imagination, because the more real you can make it for your student, the better they're going to be able to use the language. The last lesson in this unit is talking about yourself, and you're going to introduce present simple be. So at the end of this lesson, students should be able to talk about themselves using descriptive adjectives and the present simple of be. So at this point, students have learned the present simple of be and other verbs in the present simple. This is a great time to do a writing activity where you would spend time with your students writing their first full paragraph using short and simple sentences. So if you provide scaffolding for every sentence in the paragraph, students should be able at this point to put together a logical, flowing paragraph about themselves. But the more structure you provide, the more scaffolding you give your students, the better they're going to write. And as with all writing activities, make sure you enforce correct spelling and punctuation. A great way to correct writing, if it's possible in your group, is to do some sort of peer correction activity. So we are now releasing this unit to the library. We really hope that you are as excited to use these lessons as we are to make them as the next step in our structured curriculum. And make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of the latest videos, because we're going to be releasing them every week.